why you should never lead with tactics. Today on the Landlord Coach Daily Ish Show.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, ignition, liftoff.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Landlord Coach Daily Ish Show. My name is Mark Dolfini, your host and Landlord Coach. It's really good to see you. So today we're going to be talking about why starting with tactics seldom works out. We're going to come back to that here in just a second, but in terms of what I'm specifically talking about. But this show specifically, what is this show even about? Well, it's not necessarily about those who are landlords, but it's also about people who are business owners, people who want to be more time wealthy, whatever it is, whether you're in the business of selling real estate or razor blades or dealing with residents or even just at home doing the most difficult job in the world, being a homemaker. So whatever it is, we all could use more time in our day, being more effective, more efficient. So the irony is, even though I'm the landlord coach, I don't want to make you into landlords. I want to make you into business owners, and that's what we fundamentally talk about on this show. And we do that. Don't always talk about tenant stuff, landlord stuff. Sometimes we just talk about general business stuff, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. So real quick, if you are interested in getting a free copy of many of the things that I wrote about in The Time Wealthy Investor, which is this book right here, if I can find it, there we go. So if you're interested in this copy, which is also this book right here, but this is a clearer version of that, you can get it on Amazon for a lot more money, or if you'd like to just pay for shipping, you can get the book for free. Just go to landlordcoach.com/videos and you can get your free copy. And if you order it from me, I'll sign it for you. So, of course, and I can get it out to you in just a couple days. Otherwise, if you want to spend a lot more money, feel free, go to Amazon, get Jeff Bezos a few extra dollars in his pocket. So anyway, but that's all there is about that. So there's other stuff out there as well. You can get on that page of that part of the site. So what we're going to be talking about is why starting with tactics seldom works out, especially in the long term. So what am I talking about when I'm saying starting with tactics? There's a lot of gurus out there who are really good. They have a lot of really good stuff, really good advice, particularly in, really whatever space that you're in, whether you're in the landlord space, whether you're in buy and holds, fix and flips, if you're in the roofing business, if you're an attorney, there's lots of tips and tricks and stuff out there in terms of how to run businesses much more effectively and efficiently, but they're all very tactical things. It's like, hey, let me tell you about this tip that I use to do X, Y, and Z, right? That's a tactic, right? Think about it maybe in the aspect of martial arts, where if someone grabs your wrist, you do this tactic, right? And that tactic is the thing that you do, right? So I'm going to teach you that tactic for that specific thing. Well, that tactic may be really, really effective for many people, and it may be effective for all people, in the right mindset and in the right frame of mind. Keep in mind, I can teach you a tactic, but if you don't go out that tactic with the right ferocity of purpose, or maybe that tactic didn't quite work if your hand was in a certain position, or maybe that person's just a little bit stronger than you were anticipating, that tactic may not work. And it may not work for you based on your skill set or risk tolerance. Or what if you have a certain situation where your hand isn't free, like you're holding onto a baby, and all of a sudden you don't have that free hand, right? I mean, things like that do happen. So this is why I don't like to necessarily lead with tactics. Now, I'm talking about this in a self-defense analogy, of course, but not all tactics are a one-size-fits-all for every person in every situation, mostly because every individual is different, and many circumstances are also different. And this is why when I go back, and this is why I teach from more of a top-down perspective, starting with vision, starting with infrastructure, and then going to process, VIP. That's the VIP method, starting with vision. And the vision is specifically what it is you're trying to accomplish. So if you're thinking about it from that perspective, vision, infrastructure, process, right? Vision, infrastructure, process, that's the VIP method. It really starts with strategy. What's the strategy that I'm trying to employ first and foremost? Like if I lead with tactics, yeah, that tactic may work for 70% of the people out there, but what about the 30% who still have that problem where they tried that tactic and they ended up losing more money, or they ended up in a much worse situation where they tried to fend off their attacker and that one didn't work? Well, if they're holding a knife, that could cost someone their life, right? Well, we're talking about business. So what happens if they try that tactic out and it still doesn't work for them, right? What happens if they try that specific tactic and they end up spending $10,000, $20,000 trying that specific tactic, doing all they can to make that tactic work, but in that particular case, based on their skill set and what they were good at and how they approached that particular problem, it didn't work for them. So this is why I think it's better to lead with strategy first. I think it makes much more sense, and I think also when you approach it with strategy first, this is what I have noticed, is that the effects and the results are much more lasting. So if I'm trying to fundamentally change my behavior, a tactic isn't going to help do that. It might work for that one particular time, but it's not going to fundamentally change my behavior. But if I change my strategy and I change my mindset, now I can start to employ tactics that are going to fundamentally keep me with lasting change, not just a change for that particular moment where it happened to work and it didn't, then it didn't stick. So I've noticed with my own self, and I've also noticed this with my students when I'm coaching them, or other people that I may be giving advice to. They may be coming to me for a tactical question, and sometimes a tactical answer makes sense, right? So if I'm coaching a new client, for example, they come to me and they understand the VIP method, they want me to coach them, but right now they've got a real problem. Like, this might be a battlefield injury that might need a tourniquet, right? I'm not going to sit there and go, well, you should probably eat more broccoli, right? They don't care. They're bleeding from the leg. Like, okay, let's triage the situation. Let's take care of some things. Let's get you more white space in your calendar. Let's get you some breathing room. Let's get you that tourniquet tied around your leg first. Okay, now we can let's get you healthy. Now we can start to employ more strategic issues. Let's employ more strategic scenarios and responses to your problems, so we can get you so you're not back in that same situation where you're bleeding from the leg again, right? So these things, that's generally how you have to do it. Now, there are tactical answers to tactical problems, right? You're having this one specific issue, everything else is okay. You might be having this one tactical particular problem. I had a good friend of mine who's in the same industry as I am in the property management side, and asked me specifically, hey, how are you treating this one issue? Of course, that's the one benefit of being in a mastermind. So my students also belong to a mastermind, which is we meet once a quarter so they can bounce ideas off one another, and they get to learn from one another, which is a great way. If you don't belong to a mastermind, I highly, highly encourage it. But that's why I also like my one-to-one students to be in that same mastermind, and that's the same. They don't have to pay any extra for that. But I'm just saying, that's why it's important that they're not only in one-to-one coaching, but they also are in a mastermind, in a group of peers that can help them with that, bounce different ideas off of. I had another guy who's getting into more of the coaching realm, and he asked me, in terms of my course and how that works, and like different options and things like that in terms of layout. And I've asked lots of other questions of other coaches who have courses and how they lay things out. And it's just really good to bounce different ideas off in terms of how people need to learn and what's expected of people out there. Now, it turns out I probably over-delivered in the amount of videos and things that I have out there, but I wanted to make sure people got really good value for that stuff, right? So again, that would be an appropriate tactical question for tactical answer for a tactical question, because everything else is pretty much in alignment. But many people that I reach out to in this industry, or people who are reaching out to me, their world's a complete barn fire, or maybe it's not a barn fire, but they're not happy at all in the direction that things are going. They're operationally bound. They have so many mistakes that they've made. They have so many holes in their infrastructure and processes, right? Think of the VIP method again. They have so many holes in their infrastructure and processes that fixing the one tactic, I might be giving them an aspirin and they've got a brain tumor. All right, well, let's fix the tumor first. Well, let's fix the underlying problem first. It doesn't make sense to just give you a tactic that's going to fix that issue for that moment in time, right? So I'd really be cautious if you're finding that you have a fundamental misdirection of your vision. Like you look out in your vision and it's just bleak. Like you're not heading in the direction that you want. You can't imagine that you're going to have to stay in the same position, the same role for another 10, 20 years before you start to see traction. There's probably a different way that you can look at it. Just saying, that's been my experience when I've talked with other people. It doesn't always have to be this long, sucky workout thing where you're having to work for the next 10, 15 years in order for you to get to your vision. There's ways to live pieces of your vision now. And it may take some difficult decisions to make, but it is possible. And sometimes, like in my particular case, I had to lose some of my worst properties. Fortunately, I lost them in foreclosure. I say fortunately, because there's no other way I would have given up those properties. Those properties were taken from me because I fell apart back in 2008 and 2009. Some of the properties I was like, man, I really don't want to lose that property. But, at the end of the day, it was probably one of the best things that could have happened to me, because all of a sudden now I could start focusing on my vision. I could focus on strategy. I can focus on tactics that were appropriate to the strategy that I want for the vision that I wanted to create for my life. So that's pretty much it. I know it's kind of a long way to get there, but just be cautious of the tactics that you're receiving, and make sure that if it is a tactical problem that you're having and you just need one specific tactical answer, then of course, by all means, search to your heart's content and go there. But if you're really having more of a strategic issue, don't expect a tactical answer to provide an answer for a strategic question. I hope that makes sense. So that is all I have for today. Once again, let's do a quick, if you want to head over to landlordcoach.com/videos, you can get a copy of the Time Wealthy Investor 2.0 for free. Just ask you to cover shipping. That is just, I think it's like $8. And I'll sign it for you, send it right out to you, and you will have that in your hands in just a few days. And then, of course, I just want to point out, too, if you are watching this on Facebook, I'm going to go ahead. I put this in the show notes. You can join us at the Landlord VIP Lounge. Really, if you're a small business owner or really looking to take your business to the next level, we cover all sorts of stuff in there, too, not just landlording stuff, but we cover larger, more strategic stuff as well. So just you can go in there and just chill out, watch the dialogue go back and forth, ask questions, whatever you want to do, as much as you want to contribute. Good to have you. And that's all I have for today, everybody. So I'm going to go head out. I think today is the last baseball game that we have for our oldest. I'm not going to lie. We're looking forward to that being done. Actually, this is the end of the regular season. We have one more baseball game this weekend, but that's more of the sectionals, regionals, whatever. But this is the last regular season game, and I'm not that sad about that. All right, everybody, please be sure to place a value on your free time, because if you don't, someone else will. But most important, there is no amount of money that will make time irrelevant. Have an awesome day. I'll see you guys next time.